Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Trees and Greenery for November. First order of business will be the acceptance of minutes. We all had a chance to look at them. Any corrections, updates?
No, so moved.
All fine to me.
Okay, minutes accepted. Removal request. Max, do you want to lead off with that?
Are these guys here for specific trees?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, actually, Dave, can we start with you? Cause you're first up on the list. And we'll talk Congress Street at Fleet Street. And then we can move on to 10 Crescent Way, which is also associated with the city. So, all right, Dave.
There's a little tree I planted 15 years ago. So, yeah, this one's a little painful. But essentially the city sewer that serves that side of the street. In front of all those little shops, you get the cannoli, what's now the cannoli, it used to be the newsstand area. That sewer drains downhill toward Fleet Street and it is in desperate need of repair. When we created the tree planter, the sewer is actually just behind the tree. It's in the brick behind the tree. But the size of the machine that's necessary to replace the sewer necessitates the need to take that tree planter out. That whole sidewalk gets reconstructed as part of this project. It's part of the Fleet Street project, part of the Congress Street, which is phase 2 of the Vaughn Mall project that we're already building. So this tree unfortunately has to go in order to reconstruct the sewer. It is shown as being bricked back in on the proposed plans because of its proximity to the sewer. I don't know what the general feeling is, whether we should put something back there after we're done reconstructing. Maybe something smaller could go there. Kind of ambivalent to that. Like to see something there, maybe not a big species, but because I suspect we won't have to dig up the sewer again in our lifetimes. So there you go. That's my spiel.
Nothing to add?
Well, certainly putting something back in would be good. Soften up that area of downtown, so.
So if you guys want to think about it, we don't need to make a decision right away. We wouldn't put that tree back in for a year and a half. So the next fall, these sidewalks get reconstructed. There'll be temporary asphalt through next summer. And then the following fall, so fall of 26. So less than a year from now, the sidewalks get reconstructed and we would plant the tree in the spring like we usually do. So the tree would go in like 16 months from right now. So I don't even know.
2027.
Right, so I don't even know right away, but if you guys want to think about it, let me know what to do, then I can make it happen.
What is a hedge maple?
Yeah, small. It's a small, just maple tree.
Yeah.
Is that maple tree as big as it ever would get?
I think they top
Is that
out
where it
around
is?
25, 30 feet, depending on the site. I think given that this is in a pretty small confined space, it's really growing to what's available to it. Certainly not a specimen right now. I know since I've been here in 2019, there've been some pretty good years, but I don't know, can't speak to, the overall, if we left this alone, how far would it go? You know what I mean? Our downtown trees are always hurting the most. So 15 years out of a tree, I actually think is pretty decent. Could it go to 20? Possibly. Could it go to 25? I don't think so. So we're kind of at a point where, considering replacement anyway, just thinking about it broadly within the next 5 to 10 years. So that means it speeds up that process a little bit. So be it. I think the downtown trees are save for those others on Vaughn Mall, which we've really, made an effort to protect. I think these are not in that same caliber.
Motion to remove it? Yes. Second. You don't have to come back.
Favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
One on 10 Crescent Way as well, Dave.
So that's Eversource. It's not the city of Portsmouth, but
Okay.
I'll sit in case you have questions.
Sure.
You wanna go to that?
Yep, you were just there, yeah.
Oh, Crescent Way is the,
Well, yeah.
Let's just get, yeah, Paul Davis here. So yeah, this tree was put on my radar by Eversource and a resident over at 10 Crescent Way, which is a house to the left behind the pump station there. So a utility upgrade is required for both the house and I think our pump station would be put on that same service. What's problematic is we've explored alternatives, but what is the solution would be to continue the run of poles and lines from the right-hand side. So just using this photo as a frame of reference, there are poles that are run in front of Hislop Field and Hislop Park. The utilities coming from that park will continue going, I'm trying to pick a cardinal direction to make it easier, but toward that intersect, toward this pump station and toward that house. We can't bury the lines because if we were to, that would destroy the root system of that tree. And there's no feasible, extension to any other utility poles on the opposite side of where 10 Crescent Way is. So it's one of those questions where, hey, if we do move forward, and remove this tree and they extend the poles and extend the lines, obviously that comes at a cost. If we attempt to bury the line and put those electric utilities conduit, that tree certainly won't survive. So it's sort of, that's a non-starter. And then even if we were to come at it from another angle, we would still need infrastructure to that pump station. So the impacts to that tree would, no matter how we slice it, that tree would be impacted. And I think what makes the most realistic, reasonable sense would be to remove that tree and continue the utility lines. So yeah, Peter, if you want to scroll towards your right, so we can just get a sense. So you see those utility poles there? It would be an extension of those. And obviously other trees will need to be pruned, but not removed. This one puts it, even to just install the pole and the lines, half of that tree, that red maple right there, would need to come out. And that does not include the clearance. I guess it does include some of the clearances for that new pole, but once, give it a couple years and the crew comes back and starts pruning, how much of that, realistically is gonna be removed after the fact as well. And as you can see, that other house, that house that's under construction, there's no great utility access. All those are just services for the light posts. So they would have to do some significant work to get I was gonna say high tension lines, but the high voltage lines, those are actually running behind houses over that way in an alley. So they would have to extend it all the way over versus, the couple 100 feet from where they're proposing right now.
Peter, did somebody listening in have a question, have a hand raised?
Are any of you talking about this tree? I don't see any.
I think it was Lauren Wolf had her hand raised.
Lauren, did you have a hand raised?
Thank you. It's Lauren Wolf. Yes, I live in Atlantic Heights. It's just such a beautiful tree. I wasn't sure if it was for the pump house to have to be taken down. I understand the owner with the building the house, but I just wanted to have some clarification, which I think you guys have covered.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, any further?
Make a
Dennis?
motion to remove it.
I have a second.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Ian?
Aye. And can you also note my eye on the previous one as well?
Yes.
Thank you.
Joanna voting?
I didn't hear
Along-
her.
She did.
She did, okay,
She did.
thank you.
All right. Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Okay, moving right along, 501 Broad Street. Is anyone here for 501 Broad Street? You want to come up and we can discuss the tree?
Morning, everybody.
Good morning.
So, Max has come out and visited with us. We
Could you
obviously,
give us your name?
oh, my name is
address?
Moira Maloney and Scott Maisy. We live at 501 Broad.
Thank you.
So, we obviously have loved the tree. We've lived there, over, I guess, what, 11 years. And it's, you know, beautiful, provides shade to the front yard and porch, but it's been declining, since we've lived there. And we've put in a couple of calls over the last few years to see if we could have it pruned or, you know, just see what's going on. I mean, it's definitely one of the first, our neighbors have a similar tree. This one, the leaves fall weeks before the neighbor's tree falls, et cetera. So Max was able to come out this summer and talk to us. It's definitely stressed, as you indicated, has some fungal, but it's got a lot of dead branches in it. And we had several branches fall in the recent storm. We've had branches fall previously. And I'm just worried it's gonna hit somebody or, you know, hit our vehicles, et cetera, because of its proximity to the driveway. And it did hit my car and did quite a bit of damage. It's about $1,500 worth of damage to my car.
Sorry.
So, sadly, I think we're at the point where, you know, we feel it probably does need to be removed. I loved that little tree on Congress Street. I'd love to see something more mature, be able to go back in there.
Yeah.
But I think this poor tree has lived a good life, and it's a stressful spot for it right where it is with the sewer and the driveway, and just think it's led a good life.
Max?
Got anything else?
Cool. Yeah, I certainly agree with all of the, you know, everything that you've said. I didn't write that it is a removal. In my opinion, I kind of have two different buckets. One bucket would be a removal right away for significant structural issues or irrecoverable diseases. And I think we're splitting the hairs between that bucket and then the bucket where I prefer to wait until spring to see how the tree recovers from the fungal infections and from the drought stress. But like I said, we're kind of toting that line, and I do recognize all of those things that you mentioned about the site in particular. The fact that the tree has been on the decline. You know, for me, I'm certainly leaning more toward let's prune, get those hazards out, and then wait and see what it looks like come spring. And if it hasn't made a significant recovery, really in any measurable way, then we will go forward with that removal. But I'm at the point where, you know, what kind of recovery does this tree have? I think ultimately, if it's declining now, I don't likely suspect that recovery will be so significant for the next several years, because we do see drought stress really take quite a long time for a tree to recover from. So like I said, I have kind of two buckets for trees of this you know, condition. And for me, my opinion is kind of straddling those two buckets.
And we had talked about that, and unfortunately it didn't get pruned, and we
Yeah.
lost a lot of limbs, and there's many others that are like teetering on the verge of coming
Right.
down. So it is leaning significantly. You can't tell from this photo, but it's leaning significantly towards our house. So I'm just really concerned of what the bigger damage could be.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I mean, like
Yeah.
I said, we've loved it, but
yeah.
Max, would you be able to make those prunes like ASAP? Pretty quickly before something happens again? I know, sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's fine. And I do want to recognize, Maura, that we had the conversation later in the summer and we have not gone out to do that pruning. not because.
Yeah,
we were
no, I
twiddling
get
our
it.
thumbs,
You got it. Yeah.
But it's certainly, it was something that's still on the whiteboard now since that conversation. Today is, we're doing tree work today. We're doing snow storm prep tomorrow. Next week is the holiday tree, along with the wreaths and decoration. So we're pretty much booked all the way through until like the first week in December. And even then, it's still making sure everything's buttoned up for the holiday parade and making sure everything looks nice. So in terms of like pure tree work, we're probably looking to the middle of December realistically, when things calm down for the holiday, so.
And Max, how much of the tree would be left if you did this heavy pruning, get rid of the fracture?
There was quite a bit of internal dead on the tree. As far as significant dead, I'm not, I would be remiss if I said I didn't quite get a decent look, but obviously some of that larger dead has already come out of this tree.
There's still quite a bit.
There's still quite a bit,
Yeah.
So in terms of what we'd be left with after all the deadwood is out, my intent wouldn't be to prune any living part of the tree at this point in time, just because if we're waiting to see how it recovers, the best shot at that would be to, keep everything that can photosynthesize intact. But at this point, a little difficult for me to
Yeah,
kind of quantify
Yeah.
into like a percentage or something.
You're gonna take out at least 25 to 30% of what you're seeing right now.
yeah.
And there's not a
And then
lot
all they
there.
did was just take a quick walk around you're gonna see stuff.
So,
And the guys are gonna see stuff up in the bucket truck that we're not,
can't.
we can't see now.
Max, I'm sorry, did you say that was not posted for removal, or was just posted for notice, or was it posted for removal?
No, this was posted for removal.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. Yep.
And then there were on to the left, there were a couple trees that we had talked about and are gone for that
Yeah, those-
construction, right? So
those were
I always like
forced.
to contextually like to
Yeah.
look at a tree line and.
Yeah, this is about one of the only, because our neighbors to the right that you can see, they had one that was on the edge of their driveway that was removed about 2 or 3 years ago.
Uh,
And there's this one and the neighbor on the left, and the neighbor on the left is healthy. This one, theirs really declined, then ours has been declining. And the other one's still looking pretty good.
To add a little bit more fuel to, Norway's on Broad Street, there are quite a few that are that are in similar condition. Going toward Jones Ave, there's a significant tree on the right-hand side that's declining significantly. We compost teed it because the resident there really wants to, see that thing recover in some way. But again, it's at what point do we make plans to remove and replace? There are, I can probably think of like 2 or 3 other Norway maple that I have my eye out on.
Hopefully, we've got a really healthy one in the backyard that you can see. But yeah, it's.
It's a safety issue. If it's
Yeah.
already dropping limbs.
Yeah,
And there's power lines that come out this way as well. You can see them over there, but they come out into this towards the direction that we're sitting. So we had talked about that too. I was kind of nervous about that as well, if some of the limbs that came out towards the street.
if we remove the tree, would you be interested in having another tree placed back there?
100%,
Okay.
yeah. Yep.
Mhm.
And maybe, over, so it's got more
Yeah,
space.
absolutely.
100%. And that's why I was saying that one on Congress was really cute. I was like, could that come and go there?
You don't want that tree if we, that one.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Yep.
What concerns me is the location of that, and there's girdling roots around the base of it. It almost looks like there's soil lifting on the side away from the driveway. So to me, that's what concerns me the most about that tree.
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's gonna, how we saw so many Norways topple in the storm.
So the new house that's going in, we took out 2, we're gonna flatten the sidewalk all the way down. There'll be 100-foot swath without a tree.
So they put one in there.
Can we make
Yeah, I
that
mean, if
tree the
we want a
focus
tree
of
for sure.
replanting?
I thought that,
In the
I thought
future?
the property owner said they were gonna put 2 trees in as part of their project.
Mhm,
That's true.
he did,
Actually,
right,
we,
yeah.
so the two that we removed for that project, we're actually putting in three back. Not that it's a one-to-one thing, like a large tree to 3 small trees doesn't even add up, but in terms of replanting, that's, we're intending on 3 going there, and then this additional tree here, should it be removed.
Did they take that hawthorn down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, the hawthorn and the Norway maple.
Mhm.
So they're just aging out on Broad Street, were they all about the same age? Kind
Yeah, similar. Yeah,
of like on
Pretty similar
Richards when
size.
we had.
yeah.
So do we have a motion? on the floor?
Asking, do we have a motion to remove?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wait, we have 2
That's
ayes,
Joanna.
Joanna and Ian.
Yes, for Joanna.
Aye, yes.
Okay, Michael, no?
No.
Okay,
No.
you're a no. Okay, so we have 2 no's and the rest are yeses. So the motion passes.
What happens about doing a replacement?
I can be in touch with you shortly,
Okay.
but we're planting like 150 trees this coming spring, so.
And would it be something that would get mature like that? Is it, or are they all kind of
Yeah,
similar?
no, usually we look at what the site has available for overhead space, and I don't really consider those house drops to be a limiting factor at this point, so we would likely put a large.
Okay,
And
awesome.
when I say large, we're thinking like anywhere from like 35 feet plus, so
Okay, awesome.
really there's a variety in there.
Awesome.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Whose tree are you, oh, your Porpoise Way? And
McNabb Court.
McNabb Court. And
Well, McNabb is next, so let's, we can do McNabb Court.
do McNabb.
Hi, morning. Ben Otis, I live at 46 McNabb Court. I raised this concern with like the click it and fix it. That center tree there is really looking dead over the last year, and it's dropping limbs quite a bit. We've got my house to the left, and then there's a bunch of all the utilities go to that house on it's a back lot on South Street. So just a concern there, and also kind of there's I think a Norway just to the left as well, and just wanted to understand your thoughts, Max. And
Yeah. Yeah, that ash is confirmed DAB, emerald ash borer, so seeing exit holes, it's blonding, it's I marked it as poor / dead.
Okay.
I would say it's 95% dead. Like there's some leaves coming out at the base, but we know that to be true for EAB infestation. So for me, it's just bringing it to you all to let you know we're gonna be removing this large tree, and so that there's no question about why the city would be doing a removal out here. The property line actually, so McNabb Court, when it comes off of Lincoln, it actually extends straight back as if at one point someone intended on continuing the road or something. But looking at it, it's clearly just a slope that goes up to a house that's addressed off of South Street. So just wanted to.
It's what's called a paper street.
So those other trees along that line are not city trees?
So from the photo that I had taken, there was a tree on the left, which is a Norway, not on city property. And then there was a tree on the right, another Norway. I'm not certain because it's so close to where I would have to go out and really take a peek. I'm bleeding.
That one that Peter's pointing to
Yeah.
right now. Yeah, take a look at that one.
Yeah. So based on what I was looking at, yeah, I would have to cross my T's and dot my I's on that.
Yeah.
Would you take that down?
Dennis
Take
is
that down,
taking
do
a
a
look.
crew or sub it out?
That's a sub, for
Uh-huh.
sure. Yep, we don't have quite the accessibility setting up on a slope like that. They would, I have contacted to 2 companies already and received quotes, so this was sort of the final step before going with one of them. But yeah, they'll come in with a crane. We could toil at that for more than a day, but they would come in and, you know, with a crane, crank it out in a few hours, so. Anyway, yeah, I will, so as far as the tree on the left, not city, the tree on the right to this ash, unsure, but I will do some research and get back to y'all. But that ash for sure is,
Dead.
yeah.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Peter?
Peter, I'll second it.
Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
I, Joanna.
Ian?
Ian, I.
Okay, thank you.
How many ash are left?
I don't know, I should do an inventory check on those, yeah. Not, I mean, on city property, I don't think too many. I know the library has a couple that I'm keeping my eye on, and then we're actually going to talk about another one on 46 Marston that will be.
But something like this wouldn't have been picked up in the inventory that we did.
Mm.
So, you know, the parameters we set up was literally just, you know, street side, so if this was
Right.
off on a, you know, side paper street, it most likely would not get picked up.
Yeah, the Renlet May took 4 huge ash. Middle Street across from the Sonic Temple, the Renlet May House,
Oh, okay.
gigantic ash trees.
Thank you, Ben.
You know, when that vendor
They were hanging
Yeah,
all over.
does schedule, because I might wanna throw in the.
Your
on the left.
Norway, sure.
You might wanna leave town.
Well, all 3 of them are really just right over the neighbor's house, and he's put me on notice that he's super concerned about the tree
Sure,
Oh.
windstorm, so,
absolutely.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The parcel of land, like, instead of going straight on McNabb, I made a left there, and there's a parcel of land, is that the city's as well? Does that back up?
That
to-
left turn on
Yeah.
McNabb?
Yeah, like instead of like the tree right here, there's a road right on the left. Anyway, there's a pretty sad looking maple tree in there. It's sort of a fallow piece of land, maybe it's
I'm not sure.
at the end.
You know what? I don't think so. I think that's private property.
This property right here.
It extends, yeah,
That's private, okay.
yeah, South Street.
Okay, yeah, there's a pretty sad looking tree there.
Yes.
I was just gonna bring it to Mac's attention, but not our business.
Okay, 67 Marston. Porpoise Way.
Purpose Way.
Yeah.
Hello,
Good morning.
I'm Lynn Langley, 84 Porpoise Way. Ian and I are neighbors. So I was at this address when the streetscape was done and the tree went in. I was real happy about that. So I love the tree, but it has obviously its problems, so I'm interested in your assessment.
Yeah. I'm not, I'll just get this right out of the way. I'm not a big fan of pears, especially calorie pears. So, we know they have problems like any other, rose family tree. So fungal infections like crazy, poor wood attachment. I'm of the opinion that, you know, as soon as we start seeing some signs of stress or problems, I'm not gonna be shy about wanting to remove it and get something else in there. Yeah, that's kind of where we're at. I was speaking with Ian. He had let me know that the tree hasn't been looking super vigorous for the last several years. So this falls into that 2 bucket sort of, hey, are we acting on this now, or are we going to wait and see how it recovers? And I certainly would put a pear into the let's act now and get something else in there bucket.
Okay, discussion, questions?
Up the street, there's other ones that look
Yeah.
the same.
As soon as I posted this tree, was looking around, I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, there's plenty more. And I don't know, can you give us when was the road redone? Because this was certainly before my time.
Do you remember when, many years?
Would have been
AJ?
2000-2001 range.
Okay.
This was just before this committee got started.
Okay.
Cindy Hayden's project to sort of run this, when she was the assistant
Yeah, Tom
Assistant.
Richter.
manager, I guess.
Okay. So 24 years, I mean, that's, you know, nothing to sneeze at. That's
Mm.
residents wanted, we didn't pick the trees, you know, for this, we didn't have the committee, but I was involved in this project. With Everett, and they wanted, you know, there was a whole bunch of pears that were removed and they wanted a bunch back in here.
Sure.
So that's probably some of the driving factor to get some of this in here. They took out a lot of trees out of, you know. as
Oh,
part of the
really?
project, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, do we have a motion to remove?
Make that motion.
Scott?
I'll second it.
Dennis?
With the idea that there'll be a replant.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. And I'm speaking with Ian and I'm assuming you two are pretty much on the same page for replacement and
Absolutely.
awesome.
Wonderful.
Okay,
Thanks for showing up.
all in
Appreciate
favor?
that.
Aye.
I, Joanna.
Opposed.
Any, Michael's opposed, okay. Thank you.
Ian's
And Ian abstained.
abstaining.
Yeah, I'm abstaining. Thank you. Thanks, Len.
Okay.
Are you here for a tree?
No,
Here for something else.
Yeah, we'll get, I'm sorry, I thank you for coming in, but we'll get to you. Two more small tree removals. All right. Blue Heron Drive, certainly
oh,
a very significant floral declining silver maple.
that,
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Sometimes your trees are hard to find when you're driving around, you don't know the city. This one, you're like, whoa, I can see that.
okay, we have a motion to remove. Do we have a second?
second,
Wait, who said that?
everyone.
Give it to Deb.
Yeah.
I also wanted to, then on up, the evergreen and that other big tree growing all mishmashed together.
Yeah.
On the corner.
The right, to the
Yeah,
right
on
of
the
this
right,
tree?
yeah,
Yeah, sure.
it's just something to look at.
Okay, we have to vote on the motion.
Yep.
All in favor?
I thought we had,
Aye.
sorry, I apologize.
Everyone?
I,
And then Peter, can we go back to 67?
Ian?
Hello, Ian.
Ian?
Ian, I.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. So that takes care of all of the tree requirements.
Marston.
Oh, sorry.
Marston.
Oh,
Any questions on 67 Marston?
No.
no.
I move to remove this sad ash.
Second.
Second, Peter.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I,
Ian?
Ian, I.
Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you. Wait, who seconded that?
Peter.
I made
Peter
it.
seconded.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, man.
Really
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, thank you, Max. Old business?
quickly,
Oh,
we
yeah.
have a statement from Eric Eby regarding the line of sight issue over at 1126 South Street. He's essentially saying the fence is the main issue right now, and he's unsure if the tree is problematic for line of sight because the fence dominates. So if the fence was removed, he could get a better understanding as to whether or not that elm is the culprit, but as of right now, it's the fence and some other like shrubs and foliage, so.
Good report.
Oops, sorry, just so you know, Bob has been trying to get on this morning, they have no internet.
Okay.
Bob Kalinowski is the property owner, I don't know how they own the property anyways, he lives there with Barbara. So he's been trying to get on this morning, he has been texting me, and I told him to read Eric's comments this morning on the way in, so he's right there. But they don't have internet, so he's on his phone. Bob, can you hear us?
I'm actually on the line now.
Oh, perfect. So I had him read Eric's comments, and he said he'd be okay with having the fence taken down, but Bob, you can speak to that if you wish.
Yeah, I've been taking a look at that as I'm trying to back out of the driveway lately, and I agree, the fence is the bigger problem, only because the fence post is there, and then the way it extends, that part you're looking at there. I'm kind of in agreement that probably could see around the big tree if the fence wasn't there. The previous neighbor that used to live there, put up the fence, kind of questioned him when he did it. And he just kept on going with it. And the other thing he did, I don't know if Peter was able to look at that or not, but they planted those two big fir trees that are right that you can barely see there to the left of the picture. Those I can kind of see through, but I think it's really the fence.
Sure, okay.
The bigger problem is I have a pickup truck, which I can see a little higher over that. But the back of the truck kind of sticks out. It's the wife drives a Subaru, and that's pretty low to the ground, and she has a hard time seeing over the fence.
Okay, so.
Well, at least as far as this tree goes, I mean, we're not even coming close to removing it. Property wise and fence wise, I don't know if we can really make a determination.
Purview of the,
Yeah.
it really is a parking, traffic and safety issue.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
New business.
Yes. Hi, Trevor. Good morning.
Hi, Trevor.
Yeah.
So I'll preface this by saying, Pat and I received some mail from a resident of the Kate Street condos. Is that Kate Street condos? That's what's over there?
That's officially called.
And his main concern was the state of the section of the Kate Street Greenway that to his knowledge and to my knowledge is under the purview of the city, and
But originally was under the purview of the developers to take care
So
of.
that was my
just-
understanding.
Just to clarify, that is not what we believe is the situation. And that's why we
Yeah.
had Trevor, and maybe Trevor can speak to it.
Great.
I can elaborate a little
You
bit.
just land me where we're at.
Sure. I will
It's pages
hand
C.
you by taking over.
Peter does that. I'll give you a little bit of background here.
And who?
I'm Trevor McCourt, Deputy City Attorney.
Okay.
And just by a little bit of way of background here, and in our zoning ordinance, we have a provision where in certain districts of the city, developers can take advantage of incentives in order to build taller, to build denser buildings. And West End Yards, as you can probably imagine, given how tall and dense that is, took advantage of some of those incentives. One of which is workforce housing. The other is community space. And in every instance of community space that I've been a part of, it's been done via an easement, where the underlying fee, the underlying ownership of the property remains with the property owner, and there's an easement to the city. And in that easement, it says the property owner shall be responsible for maintaining this community space, welcoming in the public. Now, this was a little bit different because as anybody who's been here since before West End Yards was put in will recall, that road wasn't there.
Right.
So part of the transaction was the developer had to convey Hodgson Way to the city and also conveyed on the other side of the street in fee to the city all of that property. Now that creates a little bit of confusion, obviously, because we can't do things the way we usually do them, which is through an easement and those ongoing obligations. So how it was done here is the owner of the apartments there entered into a landscape agreement for that whole greenway, where they agreed that they would take over the landscaping for all of that. Now, in what I think was a scrivener's error, because there's 3 sections of it, and we're talking about the 3rd section or section C, in what I believe was a scrivener's error, in the actual license itself, it doesn't list section C as being the developer's responsibility. It says sections A and B as shown in exhibit A, and then exhibit A lists all 3 of them. So that's where I think the confusion would come in and why I believe the developer just thought it wasn't their responsibility to maintain that area. Because they read it and said, oh, well, it doesn't say C, it only says A and B.
I've been working with counsel, John Bozen is counsel for the developers. I've been working with him to try and get this fixed. I think it was just an oversight. You know, it was brought to our attention over the summer. We went out, I think our crew went out and mowed it just to try and, you know, be helpful, because it was all really overgrown, and just to say, okay, well, we're gonna try and figure this out. It'll take time, but in the meantime, we'll just go out and do some mowing. I understand that this individual isn't pleased with how it's been maintained so far. And again, I've been working with the developer to try and get it resolved. That's where we're at.
Max, do you suspect that soil conditions were the demise of all these trees? 'Cause that's what Badger Rand's property was, and I don't know how well that property was cleaned up.
I can't speak to the maintenance. I mean, I don't even know if these trees were being watered adequately after planting. I can't imagine the soils were amended to create like a perfect environment for a tree. All I know is in that corner where Peter's cursor is the space where the space that we're talking about, sort of that curve.
Okay, all right.
I believe site C that it actually extends to the bridge. Is that correct? Or
No, I think B is just that. I think,
C is this section here.
yeah.
okay, that's me.
C is this section here.
I see. Okay.
A is right over here.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, I think the lack of regular maintenance and care likely caused and I've already gone through, I mean, my first reaction was to go through and just remove the dead trees out of that space, which is all that we've done so far. As far as, you know, having heard the statement now, mine and the Parks and Greenery foreman, we were trying to come up with something to do for this site and how we can incorporate it into our work. But if it will likely not be a city managed space, then we'll just kind of wash our hands of it, I suppose. Is that what I'm hearing?
At this point, it is our opinion that it is not ours to maintain.
Okay.
That's right.
So the only thing that we maintain in that section is the bike ped
Okay.
sidewalk.
The actual surface,
Surface.
the
and the maintenance. of the
impervious
sidewalk.
surface. Okay.
So we don't have trash cans out there. We don't, you know, it is really the developer's responsibility.
Okay.
Okay.
Understood.
good.
So at
Mine
this
is going
point, you're
back
just
and
trying to
forth.
clarify that
First,
C
sorry.
is part of their
Their responsibility,
their
yes.
responsibility.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, you can see what, I mean, you know, the developer is not the same as the person who's now running the apartment buildings, right? And so you can see why
Right.
they would take a look at it in the real world, and they take a look at it on the piece of paper, and they'd say, okay, well, that doesn't look like ours, you
Uh-huh.
know? I mean, it
Sure.
wasn't, I don't think it was malicious, certainly,
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
something we need to get ironed out.
Okay, and Mr. Perkins is on. He understands all of this.
Oh, I don't know, I think that's why I was coming here. I was under the understanding he would be here today.
Yeah, I was under the impression he was gonna be here as well. The long and short of it is, it has been conveyed to Mr. Perkins, he does not agree with our interpretation at this time. So, I mean, that
Okay.
is something we'll work out.
Yes. Thank you.
I will have him watch because this will get posted on YouTube, so I'll have him review this portion of the meeting today.
Are there any trees in that zone that have done okay? Are they all?
I think the river birch are doing particularly well. They look great, vigorous. The black gums aren't doing super hot. There are some oaks that look okay, but generally everything along that walkway I wouldn't say are, you know, like specimen or perfect examples of a transplanted tree.
Do you think it's the choice of the tree or you?
We plant these varieties all across the city, and they usually do pretty good because we water them for 2 years. So I think it comes down to just the overall care long term. These were planted in 22, 23. I can't quite remember, but I couldn't even count on one hand how many times I've actually seen anybody out there, you know, watering those trees.
And also who specs.
Yeah,
And
and
the cages could very likely still be on these.
that's a great point. Who's to say, because usually
And it's fast and easy and it happens.
As you all know, I usually go out when I'm referred to a tree planting on city right of way that someone else is paying for, I go and make sure all of our standards are followed. So I do not recall going out. And it may have well been Charles Baxter before
Yeah.
me, but again, my understanding is no one was there.
Okay.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much, Trevor.
Very much.
Pleasant morning. Thank you.
Yeah.
A happy committee.
Nice day.
You too. All right, okay, any other new business?
I do want to, I'm very interested in that Miyawaki project, and I'd love to be looped in, or I'd love to be part of a contact person or
Sure.
something. I have some other people that have great interest in this
Yeah.
project, so.
Where is it?
I heard that might be at the middle school in that back lot.
Right.
And
Yeah.
it's something that a couple committees I've been on that we've talked about often and gone to Cambridge. and Looked at, but
Cool. Yeah,
so just don't forget.
I am in contact with some people over at the school.
Mhm.
Have not had the meeting yet, but once I do and there's some movement on that, I'll be sure to report.
give
back
us an
to you.
update.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
Yeah,
I'd also be interested in, yeah, volunteering my time or, I'm just thinking how it relates to also the understory, which is kind of more greenery rather than trees.
Yeah, totally.
But,
You have the variety, you have your large trees, small
Yeah,
trees, and then
yeah.
all the way down to shrubs. Yeah,
is, if there are native plantings as an understory,
yeah,
I'm happy to contribute my whatever advice I might have.
absolutely.
And mine would be volunteer and also some dollars.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
great effort.
Yeah, I'll make sure that the school knows that there's potentially there's some significant interest in this project.
Love it.
Great, thank you.
Because there is one at this, I think Somerville High School.
I believe so, yeah.
There's also one there, so that would be a real good connection of modeling. Cool.
I'm gonna give a talk at the senior center on December 9th on trees.
Oh,
And AJ, if I could get together with him at some point, is gonna give me a couple samples so I can show them compartmentalization, and I wanna talk about how trees grow and what root systems look like.
great. The time of the day.
1 o'clock on
1 o'clock
December
on the
9th.
9th.
It's Tuesday, day before our next meeting.
Okay, great, thank you.
That's at the senior center?
Senior center, yes.
Great.
I did forget to bring up when we're talking about Porpoise Way, there is an adopt-a-spot underneath that tree.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yes.
I really meant to bring that up then, so sorry. I just looked at my notes, but there is quite a lovely little adopt-a-spot going on there, so
yeah. The intent, again,
when talked about, and I know they're gardeners out there. They have
Yeah.
a beautiful, wonderful garden tour at Atlantic Heights. It's just stellar. I love it. Yeah, so
I think you're talking about the Crescent Way, not Porpoise Way.
yes, Crescent Way. Thank you, Ian. Yes.
There is a adopt a spot at the corner of Porpoise and Saratoga, but I think you're talking about the Crescent one.
yeah. Yeah, the intent would be, once all of that was installed, I mean, we would certainly just put another tree back.
Right.
A smaller, right, like a hedge maple, for example, something that would stay relatively small under those lines.
And I guess if no one came forward that owns that, maybe somebody that owns that Baptist spot might be notified just to see if they want to pluck anything out. I don't know. I know I've had a couple of Baptist spots
Yeah.
and terrible things have happened.
I will,
It's been very sad,
we'll bring that up to you.
honestly.
So Corin manages the Adopt-a-Spot volunteers, so I'll just bring it up to him and say, we're doing this work.
Who's connected to that Adopt-a-Spot?
Okay, at the last meeting, you weren't here and we were going to discuss signage. Remember you had asked about the Portsmouth 400 and signage of trees?
Yeah, I was wondering whether how do you want to document the 400th trees? Do you want to take pictures of them every 50 years or every 10 years? Or do you not want to do that at all? Is there something that we feel like we could be doing for those trees because they're special trees because of their significance?
I never thought about it, Dennis. That's a good idea.
So
Yeah.
how about I'll just throw that out there and
Sure.
everybody give it a think. And
If I could add on to that, now's the time to think about either next year or a year from now, now's the time to think about potentially providing them some care as far as pruning. Been on the ground a couple of years. So when they're, when they're young, they all get pruned at the nursery or whatever, we only took out stuff that was busted or, damaged during shipping. But going back to a young tree, 2, 3 years after, Max is making his round on city trees. So there either could be a little class done for people that have them, that, well, those trees are private, trees, but the city still get, we still put some cash and sweat equity in getting those trees. We could either do a class, at my place, or we could do a class. Do you still get that guy that made the video on the planting?
No.
I mean, I can't make it, I can't make a video, but I can tell people what the video should have in it.
Yeah, sure.
As far as pruning, but that, people watch that video. It's kind of a kooky little video that the kid did, but people watched it. So basic pruning, I mean, these are all, the trees are all real small, but some basic pruning done when the tree's really small. It's fast, it's easy, but it saves you a lot of problems down the road.
I
Especially
think
if
we
some of
could-
these develop multiple stems or anything else.
with some time, we could coordinate somebody to video it, I mean, we have Kevin probably do that for us.
Just, find one of you guys that got a tree or whatever, whatever else, and say, hey, this is a 400 tree, and, now we're looking for rubbing branches and, or form, or, whatever we're doing.
I did get 5 submissions of trees from people's backyards that I know, that I have in a file.
Right, so we go around, as long as we can hit we only had 5 or 6 species, I think we had 6 species.
Yeah.
We didn't have a lot of species, so we could hit each one of those.
Mhm.
And
I would
enough.
suggest we do a GIS layer, so our mapping system. I'm not real keen on anything that requires a lot of me, paying attention to it.
Absolutely not.
Sure.
Right.
We have it on the GIS layer, if sometime in the future, they can pull it up and say, oh yeah, here are all the trees, or well, some of these are dead, some of them are alive, whatever.
Mhm.
So,
And just to clarify, so the city planted 200 bare root trees and also gave away it was over 200, some other small trees. So in thinking about how we document these, is it all, or is it the 200 that, cause I mean, the GIS layer would be appropriate, like, that's something we can easily do. Cause we already have those trees inventoried, so it would but no distinction for this was a part of our 400th sort of thing. So we can easily make a quick change to that and then have that be its own either layer that Peter said, or we can filter out just for those trees. But anything, I would hesitate to try to incorporate that, incorporate the other small trees that were given away.
Private
That would
ones.
be, I mean, just the resource, it would just take a long time, and I don't know if people are super keen on having us visit their backyards or whatever they do.
Exactly.
But certainly with the 200 we did, 100%, that's something we could easily implement.
Yeah, good thinking.
It's interesting. I had inherited, I think, 3 Dawn redwoods. The folks who picked them up at your place went home and did their homework.
Realize that you couldn't host that tree.
This tree's not gonna work in my back.
Right.
So they're in the cemetery and they're doing fabulous.
Great.
It's
Well,
great.
that is a very good point, because out of the 5, 2 people are very embarrassed. Because it's the wrong choice of tree in their space. But that was part of the learning. too.
And so
I
are
love
those
that.
Dawn redwoods looking okay?
I sent you a picture of one of them.
Yeah, certainly is
Yeah,
looking
perfect down there.
okay.
Beautiful.
Little wet,
Yeah.
lousy, lousy sort of wet soil, but they love it.
yeah, my backyard, I have one that planted, it's doing great.
Yeah, and down on Ridges Court, there's another one, and it's rocking, unbelievable.
Yeah, they
Beautiful tree. Well,
Great.
thank you. I have one last question. Did we install the Portsmouth P post at Haven
No.
Park? We haven't installed it yet.
Not yet.
Okay,
We've, I've found a few pieces of granite. It's just a matter of getting it out there, digging the hole, putting it in the ground, coming up with the signage. The signage, I've drafted out the signage already, so just going through that one more time and then having that.
Remind me what you're
printed is pretty
talking
quick.
about?
The,
Yes, Pat, please explain what you're talking about
that a lot.
for the public record.
it's, we're trying to localize animal urination and waste in our off-leash dog parks to,
There's any enforcement.
I
like
had
a
'em in my
big piece
place.
of upright granite.
3 or 4 down.
So that's pretty much it.
It's a cool tree.
That's all it is.
Through the park and, you know, there are always dogs everywhere and I was just scouring and I thought,
Yeah.
see anything.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, not yet, but I intend on having that done. Yeah.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything?
I just want to compliment your group and ask you a question relative to the pruning of the tree on the corner of Kearsarge.
Yeah,
That the woman came, she's satisfied with.
yeah. Yep, she was there while we were pruning the tree.
Nice.
Excellent job.
It was challenging because a lot of those branch unions were really tight, so we wanted to eliminate some of the risk or hazard associated with, you know, large branches establishing and really wanting to open it up. And she was really satisfied. It took nearly an entire day to do that, so, yeah, she was good.
So was noticing the trees when I went out to Blue Heron that we
It's held as.
saved.
Yes.
Yeah.
That picture's. Gail.
It's a tough space.
Trees that we,
Pretty
which trees near?
When Shearwater.
Sure.
It's,
You just noticed it, there's the build, you know, their construction,
Yeah.
it's tight.
yeah, it's,
But I'm glad we letting Mother Nature make that decision.
yeah, and they're silver maples, so we'll have to go through and prune them probably within the next couple of years or once all of those homes are built.
Mhm.
I don't suspect outright tree failure or death, but certainly decline will be likely, and if we can do anything to keep them kind of chugging along, we
Mhm.
will, but yeah, it's gonna be kind of tough going out there for a little bit.
Yeah.
Anyone else? Go Heather.
Oh, we lost Ian.
Okay. Well, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Treasure.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you.